Preparations by Stephen Meehan. Tarian and his closest advisors stood atop the wall, staring out at the horde of alien creatures massing below. Through his telescope, he spotted trolls, goblins, and new, even more terrifying creatures. He lowered the scope, looked over his shoulder, and addressed his advisors.
Kel, there's more of them than last time.
Keldon reached out, and Tarian handed the scope over to his friend. With a sigh, Keldon inched toward the wall and examined the gathering monsters.
The horde out there surpasses what assaulted us previously. Besides, I've already noted several unique creatures that are probably as dangerous as anything else we've encountered.
I saw that,
Tarian said as he reclaimed his telescope.
While we rebuffed their previous assault, you told us it wasn't their actual goal.
Sherry said, burying her head in her hands.
The dwarves like us,
Caleb said, hope shining behind his eyes.
Let's hope they remember that.
Tarian said, turning to Caleb. Keldon's head swayed back and forth as he sighed.
Our survival will depend on help from them or the elves.
With a deep breath, Tarian gazed at the looming threat. He pounded his fists on the wall.
That'll be your job, Kel.
What?
Tarian grasped his friend's shoulder.
We'll cause a distraction in their ranks and give you the opportunity to find the elves.
Great. A suicide sprint through the horde. How heroic.
He groaned but cracked a dry smile.
I'll pack light.
He clapped Keldon's back and turned to grasp Caleb's shoulder.
That's one path, yet we have another to follow. Caleb, find the dwarves. Convince them to stand with us.
Caleb nodded as he jerked a thumb over his shoulder.
They should. I'll go prep my team.
No,
Tarian said. Keldon's eyes closed as he squeezed his forehead.
We're not leading our teams?
we can't spare anyone from the defense of the wall.
He looked at Keldon, then to Caleb.
We can give you whatever gear you want, provided you think it'll help. But when you leave, both of you will be alone.
A groan slipped through Keldon's mouth.
I don't like it, Tarian.
Neither do I, Kel, but we can't afford to lose more.
Tarian said, with a sigh.
I get it, Tarian.
Keldon rubbed his eyes before sauntering over to Caleb to clap his back.
It would appear we volunteered for the Don't Screw It Up mission.
At least the dwarves are friendly towards us.
Caleb said with a subdued grin. Keldon eyed Caleb, saying,
Try not to sound so smug.
Go. The rest of us will give you a distraction.
Following the departure of Keldon and Caleb, Tarian paused, letting the thought run through his mind.
Thanks to the completion of the wall and the automated turrets, we might be able to survive even if those two races still refuse to assist us.
You needed...
Sherry said, but a sudden wave of Tarian's hand silenced her.
Do we have enough explosives to vaporize the Horde's center?
Tarian asked with a slight ember of hope in his chest. One of Tarian's advisors stepped closer to the wall and raised his telescope to survey the wriggling horde.
I'm fairly certain we lack enough resources to eliminate more than a third of what's in their center. However, with some creative designs, we should convince them to retreat, at least till they realize our stock isn't unending.
Lloyd, how quickly can you accomplish that?
Tarian asked, rubbing his temples.
Give me 3 hours and I'll scrape enough up to make them think twice. Less than that, maybe I can make them flinch.
Lloyd said, pulling the telescope from his eye. Tarian grabbed Lloyd's arm and pulled him closer.
What if we only gave you an hour?
We might make them blink.
Lloyd said, grabbing Tarian's wrist.
Then you have those 3 hours.
Tarian released Lloyd and returned to studying the horde.
A single flash alone won't save us.
Lloyd inclined his head as he pocketed his telescope.
On it, Tarian!
A second later, Lloyd raced after Caleb and Keldon to craft their distraction. Tarian gripped the top of the wall and studied the amoeba-like movements of the horde. The silence grew exponentially until he spoke without turning around.
Sherry, start drawing up defense plans. We know their last attack didn't intend to overwhelm us. Despite that, stick with what worked then. If we adjust anything, focus on reinforcing our weak points. This wall must hold.
Yes, sir.
Sherry said, corralling the rest of the people to help her arrange the wall's defense. Tarian watched the undulating mass without the telescope. When they arrived in orbit, the scan showed far less life than what now stared back at them. None of their projections had prepared them for this. He stood there trying to figure things out when someone tapped his shoulder.
Yes.
Tarian said, his voice barely more than breath and exhaustion.
We are ready to launch.
There were missile shells for you to repurpose, Lloyd?
Tarian asked as awe seeped into his words.
No,
Lloyd jerked his head toward the ship's skeletonized carcass.
though we were able to manufacture a few rudimentary ones.
Well, by all means, fire.
Tarian said through a fledgling smile. Lloyd nodded and pulled his radio out, issuing an order.
Dispatch Keldon and Caleb as soon as it detonates.
The confirmation came, and the missile screamed into the sky. He tracked its arc through the scope, then the impact lit the horde ablaze. A firestorm tore through their ranks. As debris rained down, they turned on each other, aggression boiling over.
Did they escape?
Yes, Tarian.
Sherry said through the radio.
Our last hope is underway.
Tarian placed the telescope against the wall, then turned to Lloyd.
That was an excellent start to their diversion.
What if it's not?
Lloyd asked with a serious expression. Tarian sighed, having thought about it himself.
Let's hope that blast rattles them. If not, we're just buying time.
With that, our story concludes. I hope you've enjoyed today's reprieve from your daily grind. If you like the vibe, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because every bit helps get this channel spread to those who require a momentary chance to unwind. I'll see you for the next tale, my friends.